I'm so flipping happy. I've done really well today, and the dog is being very good as well, which is a bonus. So I've just done a bit of welding, which doesn't sound a big deal, but Denny, come this way. But to me, this particular little bit I've just done is quite a big deal because I remember, and I can't remember how long ago it was, but we the dealers did a BMW Isetta bubble car, and Ed ended up cutting the entire front of this car off because it was all rotten, and he literally sat there and he had about one big thing here, and he had 2 or 3 little bits here, and he had to reconstruct the corner of this car. And I remember looking, thinking, good God, I could never do that. I could never have such small little strips of metal and be welding them all together and making it up like that. And true to form, on the Mark 1 that I did, or I've done, I did struggle with doing that quite a bit. I struggled a fair bit because it was just like, how do you do it so it's just enough but not too much that you end up melting it and blowing massive holes in it. But I've just done it. I'll show you. So obviously I had this little gap up here beforehand, and I don't know how the hell I did it, because if you offer the old bit up it fits in there. I do not understand how the hell I ended up with the gap here, but never mind. I know that this side here it's all lining up okay there, so I know that it should all be in the right place. But I trimmed a bit off of there, then literally ground it down just so it's the right size, and then made it so it literally fitted perfectly into that gap. Normally you'd have a little gap around everything, but because it was so small, I thought, right, I'm going to make it kind of a well, basically I made it a friction fit. So essentially it goes in there, and it almost literally sits in the gap without any magnets or anything else, because obviously in that position you can't get anything on it besides a magnet. Couldn't find magnets, so I thought, right, we'll make it a friction fit, we'll make it all just fit perfectly snug in there, and then just go round it, because it's such a small bit, it's not a structural part, it'll be absolutely fine for what it's doing. And what I've managed to do is literally go all the way up it and not blow holes. Managed to keep a really controlled weld. It's not the neatest welding, completely admit that, but it's done. This corner is now, this particular part at least, is now done. We've just got to grind it all back, and yeah, that bit of welding's done. We can give that bit of paint up, and then in theory, hopefully at least, we can get this. We can now move on to this bit here. Obviously want to ground this bit back, but I'm really happy with this bit, because I never expected in a million years I'd ever be able to weld something so thin without just completely blowing it to obliterate. Because normally you get some really thin, you weld it, and if you're not set up on the welder right, or you're not too sure how to do it, you just completely blow it apart. As soon as you touch it with a welder, a thin bit, you can turn it into about 4 or 5 different pieces, because too much heat and it would just literally blow it in half, it would just melt it apart. So I'm really proud of that bit. So yeah, really happy with that bit, and that is the first part done. It's crazy to think that I uncovered, I think it was, what day was it? I think it was Wednesday I uncovered all this. Yeah, first Wednesday I pulled a teacup polishing rag out of this corner. Thursday I then uncovered it to be a hell of a lot worse. Friday I pulled it apart, and then yesterday I drove all the way to Gloucester to literally buy the panel to cut this bit here out of. Crazy, isn't it? But yeah, really happy.